Oh yeah. So that one was a bit rough. So what we're gonna do is just break this landing sequence down moment by moment. But I wanted to say something real quick first. As most of my subscribers probably know by now, this channel is in no way meant to be any kind of a wow, look at me, I'm so awesome, watch me do this kind of channel. It is supposed to be just a passionate, heartfelt documentation of our learning process and a reflection of the passion we have for airplanes and for flying and adventure. And that's what it's all about. That being said, the learning process is the main element of this channel that I really wanted to pass on and communicate. So my hope is that I can pass on some of the lessons that I've learned in doing this channel. So I've always felt that in aviation, the most powerful lessons that we can learn are in things that we screw up. So if we can be lucky enough with some of our failures to come out uninjured and not dent an airplane, that's a big win in the big picture. Backcountry flying is very unforgiving, regardless of how much planning and preparation you put in. And one mistake can start up a chain that can generate a snowball effect that is very, very difficult to recover from. And that's what happened in this on this landing sequence. And so I really think it would be valuable to get it out there along with my thoughts, so that other people might think about the mistakes that I made and not make the same mistakes themselves. So I just know that I learned so much on this short landing sequence that I couldn't pass up the opportunity to just break it down element by element and share the lessons that I learned from it. So every seasoned pilot knows that if you fly airplanes long enough, you're going to have a few botched landings, especially if you're doing this type of extremely challenging flying. So thanks for having an open mind and letting me share this one with you. So here we go. Let's break this landing sequence down. First of all the planning and preparation was there. This spot was on a friend's property and he had given me permission to land there sometime. So I had measured it, I had scouted it on Google Earth in ForeFlight, I had visualized the terrain and the multiple approaches and go around possibilities if you approach from this direction versus that direction depending on wind. I even practiced multiple approaches and go-arounds from different directions using Microsoft Flight Simulator prior to going up there. I'll cover this process of using Microsoft Flight Simulator to scout backcountry landing zones in a future video, but I've found that to be a very, very helpful, effective tool. So since I had done all of this planning and preparation in advance, I knew that the spot was doable and there were plenty of go-around options. So just so happens that my execution on that specific landing was poor and I did not execute the go-around like I should have. After the landing was over, now that I was on the ground, I was able to get my boots on the ground and walk the surface and pick the optimal line for the touchdown. And since I knew it was doable, I actually took off and landed it again with much better results, as you'll see from the clip I'll play at the end. One of my favorite elements of this backcountry flying stuff is the planning and preparation that goes into making that first landing where no one else has landed before. So somebody always has to be first at all of these spots, and it's quite the involved process that I go through prior to landing somewhere that nobody has landed before. So of course, landing somewhere no one else has landed before has a large element of risk associated with it. But in doing this, we try to do everything we can to mitigate that risk as much as possible. So one element that kind of raised its ugly head was that in all of the satellite imagery I had looked at in ForeFlight and in the data on Flight Sim, showed a really clear obstruction-free landing zone. However, when we arrived, it turns out that very recently a fire road had been bulldozed right through a section of where I was planning to do my landing rollout. So that significantly shortened the available landing distance. I did multiple passes from multiple directions, and including some passes at touchdown speed, so that I could make sure that in the event of a go-around, I could not only outclimb the terrain, but also execute a go-around effectively in the event that I made that decision.
And then all you have to do is clear the hill, and then you can pour on the coals if you really don't like it, and then it's downhill from there.
So here you can see that fire road that was blocking the landing zone a bit. So that element was something that, you know, you do all this planning and prep work, and then you get to an LZ, and sure enough, there is an extra element that you have to factor into the equation. So that was something I had to deal with. But after doing the low passes, I figured that I still had enough distance and enough space to get it stopped. So what happened here on the actual touchdown? Well, I got a little focused on keeping an eye right on the optimal touchdown, and I let my speed pick up. There, you actually have to clear a hill, descend prior to the touchdown, and in that descent, I think I let my speed pick up a little bit more than I would have liked.
About 55. Gonna carry some power all the way in. Go through this gap in the trees. Carry the uphill, plenty of room.
And I not only touched down with extra speed, but I also touched down later than I wanted to. I touched down far beyond that fire road, kind of on the edge of the hill rather than prior to the hill. Because this gradient of the hill was steep enough, after touchdown, even though I knew I touched down fast and late, I didn't get on the brakes as well and effectively as I should have. I anticipated that the uphill slope would slow me down adequately, and I was going to actually need that uphill slope and need some speed and power to carry me to the top of this hill. So, as you can see, the top of the hill was a little smaller than I anticipated it to be, and I carried speed over the top of this hill and was trying to get it stopped. Now, after cresting the hill, I should have, at that point, absolutely should have, as I briefed, I should have executed a go-around. I knew I had the space. I had practiced it. I had rehearsed it. I had briefed it. I just did not execute it. And so I committed myself to stopping. And committed myself to stopping on a downslope after I crested the hill. Now I'm traveling downhill. In a tailwheel airplane, the center of gravity is behind the main wheels. So now I'm traveling downhill on the brakes, trying to get stopped, and by applying the brakes, my airplane really wanted to pitch over on its nose. So I'm traveling downhill on the brakes, airplane is wanting to get up on its nose, so now I'm modulating the brake pressure, trying to get it slowed down and stopped, fighting gravity as I'm rolling downhill as the airplane wants to go over on its nose. And obviously I was not slowing down very quickly. And I could not use the brakes all that much because of the tendency for the airplane to want to flip over on its nose. So deceleration just was not happening. I was approaching a grove of trees, and so I decided to kind of make a little turn to free up a little bit of space. If I actually rolled all the way to the trees, I could go around the trees to the right. So I started, as I'm going down this hill, not stopping, turning to the right to avoid the trees. What this essentially did was put me more on the side of the hill, which caused the airplane to go more, put more weight on the side of the tires, which at that point, as the trees were getting a little closer, I was going at a pretty slow speed, but I allowed the airplane to rotate around so that I could get the nose pointed uphill, pour on the coals, and that is what helped get me stopped.
Holy cow.
So as you can see, as I went around the edge, I was not only rotating this way, but I was on the sideways now on the hill, which then caused that wing to drop. Fortunately, it did not touch the ground, and I got that nose pointed uphill, poured on the coals, and came to almost an immediate stop after that. So it was quite the ride. Not a ride that I enjoyed at the time, but it was an absolutely phenomenal learning experience for me. The planning and prep was there. I should have executed the go-around. It would have been a complete non-event if I had just executed the go-around. So from now on, if I am landing at a hilltop spot, I will absolutely ensure, as I did this time, that there is an available go-around with plenty of space from a dead stop at the top of the hill, because you're gonna have to take off from the hill anyway. So I'll never land on a hilltop where I don't have a takeoff option. I've passed many hilltops up because of the lack of a good takeoff option for the wind conditions. So I will always make sure that I have a go-around option available, and I will never attempt to stop an airplane after cresting a hill while traveling downhill. I will always, from now on, just be wired to just pour on the coals. You get the benefit of that downhill slope. You're gonna be flying in no time and get out of there. I hope you guys were able to get something out of that. I know that I got an immense amount of learning out of that one landing, so I wanted to just put it together piece by piece for you guys and dissect it, and shoot me comments, shoot me questions. I know I'll probably get a lot of criticism for that one, but I really think it's valuable for anybody doing this kind of flying to learn from my mistakes. That's the whole point of this channel. I'm gonna make mistakes, and I want you guys to get something out of them, because I sure got a lot out of this one. So I have so many different video projects in the queue. There's some good stuff coming, so just stay tuned, everybody. There's a lot more adventure to come. Thank you.
Yeah, I touched down a little late, but we're good.
You hit the wingtip?
Oh man,
Yikes.
that one might not make the cut.
Good work there, good work. I'll let you get settled in somewhere and let me know if I can come in to land.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, man, I should have, when I touched down a little long, and I should have just poured on the coals, and I waited too long, and then I committed to, and then there's that downhill on the backside, and I was on the brakes, trying not to put on the nose and get stopped before the trees, but hey man, we're here.
Perfect, I like that Super Cub turnaround at the end there.
I wasn't enjoying it all that much at the time.
Good save, John, good save.
Thanks, buddy.